So back in 2003, in the old days where VHS was still in people's homes, and DVDs were still on its way of becoming the most dominant mainstream media for movies, I sat in silence, struck with awe, as I had just witnessed the most unexpected teaser trailer ever. Within just under 1 minute in duration, first fading into an organic skin texture, and followed by a strange metallic material, you hear the most horrifying but recognizable sounds from two of the most terrifying monsters. Only then are we slowly introduced to the announcement of AVP. The teaser trailer alone sets up the anticipation for moviegoers and fans. Released in October of 2004, a full decade after the release of the novel, and 14 years release after the first AVP comic, we're introduced to the cinematic universe envisioned by PaulW.SAnderson, whose ideas of the mythology and backstory go way further than most of us would have originally thought. His take on the story actually begins back in the early civilizations, where planet Earth had been visited by predators. Originally worshipped like gods, the predators taught the humans how to build and cultivate civilizations. Later in time, the predators would then travel back to Earth, and a sacrifice would be then expected. This sacrifice would be in order for the predators to hunt the most deadliest of creatures, the xenomorphs. It is a rite of passage, as Paul Anderson states during the commentary of AVP. When looking back on the previous Predator films, he sees them predator creatures as young ones, or the children of the species, who have access to hunt humans and other creatures on the planet, and whereby successfully earning enough trophies, they then prove themselves worthy for the hunt of xenomorphs, and the ritual to lead that predator into manhood. With that idea in mind, the predators involved in this ritual hunt are regarded as youngbloods, and, once passing the test of hunting and annihilating the alien foe, honor is brought to the clan and leader, and a new title of Blooded is given, thus proving themselves worthy in the eyes of the other predators within the clan, and moving them higher up in the hierarchy of status. The movie takes place on Bovataya Island, where a heat plume underneath the ice attracts the attention of a satellite in orbit. This satellite actually belongs to Charles Bishop Weyland, who most of you will know is the original founder and CEO of Weyland Industries. It is Weyland's discovery and analysis that prompts him to assemble a team of selected individuals, and later we find out that this heat plume resides from the Berry Pyramid, of which cannot be described of its origin. The pyramid structures resemble other cultures that, at the time, would have had no contact with one another. So the fact that this particular pyramid shares all these cultures arise more questions. In the movie's behind-the-scenes pre-production titled Conception, Paul Anderson quotes, "This is the key image for the AVP movie. Something that fascinates me is the work of Erich von Däniken, who wrote Chariot of the Gods and lots of other books, who talks about the similarities between Egyptian pyramids, Cambodian pyramids, Aztec pyramids. Three separate cultures which have nothing to do with one another, that should have never seen each other, had no communication, but they ended up building pyramids that look surprisingly similar. Däniken's answer was that aliens built the pyramids, or humans built the pyramids with aliens' help. And we agree with him. And this shows how the pyramids were built. You've got the Predator, spaceships hovering above the pyramids, you've got all the Aztec priests lining up to worship their gods, and in Aztec mythology, they believe that their god came from the skies in giant ships. So those are the giant ships from the skies, and these are their gods, which are predators. That's kind of the backbone of the story. Paul then continues to quote about the predators within his story. The movie starts 5,000 years ago in Cambodia, 3000 BC, and you can see aliens and predators on Earth. And the idea is the predators use the Earth for their manhood rituals. They drop 5 teenage predators at a pyramid, and they have to fight for their survival. They fight aliens, and if they survive the battle against aliens, they become men. Here you have an automatic self-destruct device, and eventually these will kind of sweep across the Aztec city. This is our answer as to why certain civilizations disappeared without a trace. The Toltecs, for example, who predated the Aztecs. There's a Toltec city that has been discovered that was basically abandoned over one night. The entire civilization disappeared in one night, and this is our answer as to why. I'm sure most of you have already seen the movie, and I don't want to give away the whole story. But for those of you who haven't seen it, all I can say is that it is an enjoyable film. The settings and effects are beautiful, switching between mostly animatronics and very little CGI. The cast and crew have done a brilliant job as well. They give the movie some subtext and feeling towards the characters. All around, I wouldn't say it's a bad film. But let's explore some of the differences between the movie and the previous works of the books. If you recall from my previous videos, in the books the story takes place on the desert planet Ryushi, set way ahead into the future, whereas the movie is set on Earth and was at the present time of 2004. This was actually mainly because of the producer Jim Davis. He wanted to have the setting on Earth and have it at a modern time. However, the story about the pyramids and the Predator's historic mythos are Paul Anderson's alone. Our main characters from the books are the Prosperity Well supervisor Machiko Noguchi and the Predator leader Broken Tusk. They both fight together in order to survive the hordes of deadly xenomorphs. There is a queen xenomorph that is first captive on the Predator's ship, however later escapes to a climatic battle, and later the survivor embarks on their own journey spinning into a different series. However, when knowing either the comic or the novel, obviously the movie story is different, but shares some similarities. Our main character Lex is the strong soul survivor, employed by a company as a leader, who then later teams up with a surviving predator known as Scar. Both characters, Machiko and Lex, are in the leader's position, and getting to know them a little bit better, you can see that their past traumas have shaped them into the people that they are at that time of the story, pushing them over the edge of the will to survive. The predators in both stories are embarking on a ritual in order to prove themselves. In the movie, the queen is captive within the pyramid, very similar to the story of the book, as Paul Anderson even states. You see, this is all quite closely based on the first Alien vs Predator comic book. The idea of the queen kept chained in a machine and being forced to lay eggs. That was taken directly from the AVP book. The sole survivor, even though the ending is very different in all the versions from Aliens vs Predator, we are still introduced to another clan leader, and the Predator Brethren. Though Machiko's story does continue, this is the very last time as yet that we see or hear of Lex. It is even debatable that she even made it back to civilization. The end of AVP is left with a cliffhanger. Although stated by Anderson himself, he didn't want to leave it as an option for a sequel. He just wanted the viewer to feel that the battle was more rounded, that the Predators and the Xenomorphs had both won, but yet lost. This, however, did not stop the Brothers Strauss, but we will get to that at another time. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.